Bellman Woodworking Designs with me, Brett Bellman. Today we're going to look at how to make these floating shelves. But first, let's take a look and see how these floating shelves work. Alright, so this is the actual structure of the floating shelf that allows the shelf to float on the wall and in the air. These are 2x4s that I've cut down to make a frame for the shelf. These are then anchored with 1, 2, 3, 4 anchors into the wall. So when you choose to do this project, make sure you first build a frame for your shelf, and then you'll anchor that shelf into the wall. And that can be anchored either into the 2x4s or by using wall anchors that are strong enough to support anything that you might put on the shelf. Alright, once you have your frame in place for your shelf should simply slip over the frame. So if you look at the inside of our shelf, we actually have a big space on the inside, and this is to allow for our frame we built on the wall to slide inside and allow the shelf to float. So now let's take our shelf, we're going to slide it onto our frame, and we will officially have our floating shelf. Alright, so at this point we have our floating shelf installed on the wall, and it's now ready to put anything on top that we would like to have. Alright, so here's that frame I was just showing you in the beginning of the video. And for this is cut from 2x4s that I cut down to the interior size of the shelf. And these are being glued and screwed together, and I did use a Craig jig to cut the slots for these. So I thought that'd give it extra strength between the glue and the screws there to make sure that shelf would be held securely to the frame here. Alright, so the next step was to cut the actual pieces for the shelf. And this is all cut from the premium pine you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. These are all the exterior parts of the shelf, which really you're just building a casing to go around that frame, and that's what ends up being the decorative part of the shelf that everyone will see. So for the top and bottom and the sides, I did glue and brad nail this shelf together. The only part I did not brad nail together was the actual front, the face of the shelf. I knew it would be seen the most where these shelves would be placed, and I didn't want to have any nail holes or have to worry about covering up nail holes or worry about filling them in, or would the filler still leave a spot from the brad nail or any of that. So I wanted just the board there on that, but the top and the bottom I knew probably wouldn't get seen as much. There'd just be stuff sitting on top that would most likely cover up any of those holes that I might have to fill in from the brad nail or the brad nailer itself. So here I am gluing and nailing that together, and you can see right now the inside of that box is hollow. One thing you want to do is make sure you cut some kind of pieces, I would say either 2 to 3 pieces, to support the inside of your shelf to keep the top from sagging and the bottom from sagging as well. So those pieces I did cut 2 pieces from the inside, and then brad nailed those from the top and from the bottom to keep the whole shelf from shifting and keep it square shape. So this is the actual face of the shelf, the floating shelf that will be seen most, and I was very generous with the glue here. I glued everything up and then unclamped it up and allowed it to dry overnight. I wanted to make sure that glue had time to cure on there before I did any kind of sanding or anything else that would apply any kind of force to that. So be sure if this is the same tactic that you use, make sure when you clamp it up, do give it plenty of time for whatever glue you're using to cure completely on there. Now I want to discuss one detail that I didn't show in this video, and you can see there's lots of grain on this wood here, and so I wanted to match the look. There was a table that was going to be sitting below these shelves, and it had a lot of deep grain in the wood. So what I did was take a drywall screw, and anywhere you can see that wood grain, that darker color showing through, I traced all those grain lines with the wood screw to make some deep kind of curves down inside the wood. And then in my finishing step, I went back and I did Briwax, and the Briwax was a teak colored Briwax, and so that wax was then able to get inside of those grooves and really highlighted those grooves that I made with the drywall screw. And I also did some wormholes around there, kind of the drywall screw too, just to kind of give it some of the extra texture, extra look to match this table that it was going to be sitting. The shelves are on the wall mounted above this table. So once the glue had time to dry the next morning, I did sand everything down I sanded all the edges, so everything was rounded over. I didn't round it, but I wanted to have a more natural look just with the sander, and made sure all the edges were flush, and so it looked like one solid piece of wood all the way around. For finish here, so this is the medium walnut teak oil. I put that down first just to help seal the wood and protect the wood. And then after that I did use wax. But part of the reason I did both of these was I was trying to match the stain on the table that these shelves were mounted above. And this is the way I got it. So I did the medium walnut, teak, medium walnut, Danish oil. Sorry, this is Danish oil, not teak oil, but Danish oil. And then after that, I went back over with the Briwax with the Teak Briwax. So between those two things, that was allowed me to match the stain of the table below and give it just a great look. So do make sure if you use wax like this that you always polish the wax at the very end. So definitely this worked out well and was able to match the tables, and they look great up on the wall. Alright, so now we have our completed shelves in place and ready to go. We do have a lower shelf and an upper shelf here. This was a project where I didn't make both shelves, but I built both shelves the exact same way. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you did like this video, please give the video a thumbs up in the bottom. You can leave me any questions or comments below, and I would love to respond to those. Be sure to check me out on Patreon. I'll also leave a link to that below, and that's a chance for you to support me if you like the things that I'm doing, the videos I'm putting out, and the projects that I'm putting out for you guys. So, until next time, be inspired, keep learning, keep building.